Tonight, we return softly to ancient Rome. The city is quiet now. The streets that were once filled with footsteps, voices, carts, ceremonies, and daily life have settled into stillness. Above the rooftops, the night sky opens wide and dark. A pale moon rests over the hills. Oil lamps glow beside doorways. And in the distance, the shapes of old temples rise gently against the stars. Tonight, we are not rushing through Roman history. We are not following the noise of crowds or the speeches of the forum or the movement of armies across distant roads. Tonight, we are walking slowly through the sacred side of Rome. We are moving through temples, hearths, doorways, gardens, and quiet household shrines. And as we walk, we will meet some of the gods who shaped Roman memory, Roman ritual, and Roman imagination. Jupiter, watching from the sky above the city. Juno, connected with protection, marriage, and the life of Roman women. Minerva, close to wisdom, craft, learning, and careful skill. Mars, remembered as one of Rome's oldest and most important gods. Vesta, keeper of the hearth and the quiet sacred flame. Janus, the god of doorways, beginnings, endings, and gentle transitions. Venus, connected with beauty, gardens, growth, and Rome's legendary ancestry. And the smaller household gods, who remind us that Roman religion was not only found in great temples, but also in homes, meals, doorways, and daily routines. There is nothing you need to memorize tonight, nothing you need to hold tightly. Let the names drift by slowly. Let the old stones and soft lamps guide you into rest. This is a calm journey through Roman religion and mythology, told gently for sleep, relaxation, and quiet listening. So settle in. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow. And imagine that we are standing at the edge of ancient Rome after sunset. When the day has passed, the roads are cooling, and the city has begun to dream. Before we meet the gods one by one, it helps to understand how the Romans often thought about the sacred world. Roman religion was not only a collection of stories, it was not only mythology in the way we might imagine it now, with dramatic tales and distant legends. For many Romans, religion was woven into the ordinary structure of life. It belonged to the home. It belonged to the family. It belonged to the city. It belonged to public ceremonies, temples, festivals, meals, marriages, doorways, fields, and roads. The sacred world was not far away. It was close. It could be present in the flame of a hearth, in a small shrine near the household, in a public temple on a hill, in the proper words spoken during a ritual, in the turning of the seasons, in the beginning of a journey, in the opening of a door, in the quiet hope that the city, the family, and the home would remain protected. Roman religion was often practical. The Romans cared deeply about ritual, order, and proper observance. They often believed that the relationship between people and the gods needed to be maintained with care. Offerings, prayers, vows, festivals, and ceremonies were ways of keeping that relationship balanced. A ritual might be public, performed before a temple with priests, officials, and citizens, or it might be private, taking place inside a home, near a small shrine, beside a lamp, at the edge of an ordinary meal. In this way, Roman religion was both grand and intimate. It could belong to the state, with temples, ceremonies, and public festivals, and it could belong to the household, with quiet daily practices passed down through family life. When we speak of Roman gods tonight, we should also remember that Roman religion changed over time. Rome lasted for many centuries, Its beliefs, ceremonies, and stories were shaped by older Italian traditions, by contact with neighboring peoples, by Etruscan influence, by Greek mythology, and by the many cultures Rome encountered as it grew. So it would be too simple to say that the Roman gods were only Greek gods with Roman names. Many Roman gods did become closely associated with Greek gods. Jupiter was often linked with Zeus, Juno with Hera, Minerva with Athena, Venus with Aphrodite. And over time, Greek myths became deeply connected with Roman storytelling, but Roman religion also had its own older roots, its own rituals, its own public meaning, its own household practices, its own way of connecting the sacred world to the life of the city. This is important because the Roman gods were not only characters and stories, they were part of how Romans imagined order, protection, duty, memory, and belonging. A god might be connected with the sky, another with the hearth, another with doorways, another with fields, craft, gardens, or the protection of the home. To walk through Roman religion is not only to walk through a gallery of gods, it is to walk through the spaces of Roman life, a temple at night, a family hearth, a city gate, a small courtyard garden, a quiet road leading away from Rome, a public square where ceremonies once took place, a doorway where someone might pause before stepping out into the morning, a table where food was shared, a flame that was kept burning, a threshold crossed gently at the end of the day. Imagine now a Roman home after dusk. The rooms are dim. The day's work has ended. A small lamp burns with a warm amber light. Near the household shrine, the air is still. There may be simple offerings, small objects, or signs of devotion. Nothing loud, nothing hurried. Only the feeling that the home itself is part of a larger sacred order. Now imagine the city beyond that home. The streets grow quiet. The forum rests in shadow. The stones of the temples hold the last warmth of the day. On the Capitoline Hill, the great sacred spaces rise above Rome. Far below, the paths and roads curve through the sleeping city. For the Romans, the gods could belong to these places, to the high places and the humble ones, to the great public temples and to the small corners of daily life, to the sky above and the fire within, to the gates of the city and the doorway of a house, to the beginning of a year, the start of a journey, the promise of a harvest, the memory of ancestors, and the hope for peace and protection. Tonight, we will move slowly through that world, not as scholars trying to capture every detail, not as travelers trying to see everything at once, but as quiet listeners. We will let each god become a doorway into a different part of Roman life. Jupiter will bring us to the sky and the high temples. Juno will bring us to protection, dignity, and the life of the city. Minerva will bring us to craft, thought, and careful work. Mars will bring us to the fields, the boundaries, and the old identity of Rome. Vesta will bring us to the hearth. Janus will bring us to thresholds. Venus will bring us to gardens, beauty, and Roman memory. And the household gods will bring us back inside to the small sacred spaces of home. As we begin, let the city become quiet around you. Let the old temples rise slowly in your imagination. Let the lamps burn low. Let the marble cool beneath the night air. And let the first presence we meet be high above the rooftops of Rome, where the sky opens wide over the ancient city. There, in the stillness above the Capitoline Hill, we begin with Jupiter, EP03, Gods of Rome, Script Part 02. Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva, there, In the stillness above the Capitoline Hill, we begin with Jupiter. In Roman tradition, Jupiter was the great god of the sky. He was connected with height, order, oaths, law, treaties, and the protection of Rome itself. To imagine Jupiter in a calm way, we do not need to picture noise or storm. Not tonight. Tonight, we picture the sky resting above the city, wide, dark, clear, the kind of sky that seems to hold everything gently beneath it. Below that sky, Rome lies quiet. The temples are still. The stone roads are silver in the moonlight. The forum is emptied for the night. And high above the sleeping streets, the Capitoline Hill rises like a dark shape against the stars. This hill was one of the most important sacred spaces in Rome. It stood above the forum and looked out across the city, and there, in Roman memory, Jupiter held a place of great importance. He was not simply a figure in stories. He was tied to public life, to promises, to formal words, to the safety and order of the Roman state. When Romans made important vows or agreements, Jupiter could be called upon as a witness. When the city imagined itself protected from above, Jupiter was part of that sacred order. He belonged to the high places, to the open sky, to the idea that the world, with all its movement and uncertainty, could still be held together by custom, law, and ritual. In the daylight, his temples may have seen processions, officials, priests, citizens, offerings, and ceremonies, but tonight, we imagine those places after all of that is past. The crowds are gone. The voices have faded. The steps are empty. The columns stand quietly in the night air. A few lamps still burn. Their small flames move gently in the breeze. Above them, the sky stretches on. When we think of Jupiter, it is easy to imagine thunder and power. But for a sleep story, we can let those images soften. We can think instead of the quiet after a storm, the cool night air, the clouds moving slowly past the moon, the feeling of standing beneath a high roof of stars and knowing that the city below has settled into rest. Jupiter was also part of what later Romans called the Capitoline Triad. This was the grouping of Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva, worshipped together on the Capitoline Hill. Each had a distinct presence. Jupiter, the sky and public order. Juno, protection, women's lives, and the dignity of the city. Minerva, wisdom, craft, and skill. Together they formed one of the most important sacred groupings in Rome. And so, as we leave Jupiter's high temple and the open sky above it, we do not travel far. We remain in the sacred atmosphere of the Capitoline. The moon is still above us. The stone is cool beneath our feet. And now, beside Jupiter, we turn gently toward Juno. Juno was one of the great goddesses of Rome. She should not be remembered only as the wife of Jupiter. That is too small a way to understand her. In Roman tradition, Juno had her own strength, her own dignity, and her own place in the life of the city. She was connected with women's lives, with marriage, with childbirth, with protection, with the well-being of the Roman people. And as part of the Capitoline Triad, she stood near the center of Rome's sacred public identity. If Jupiter can be imagined as the high sky above the city, Juno can be imagined as a quiet protection resting over homes, families, and the life of Rome itself. Her presence is not loud tonight. It is steady, like white marble in moonlight, like a lamp burning beside a doorway, like a courtyard after sunset when the air is cool and the household has begun to slow. Imagine a temple courtyard dedicated to Juno. The night has softened every edge. The columns are pale beneath the moon. A piece of fabric stirs gently in the breeze. The lamps glow low in gold. No crowds gather here now. No ceremony moves through the space. Only silence, only stone, only the sense of an old and watchful presence. In Roman life, women's experiences were deeply connected to family, household, marriage, and the continuation of family lines. Juno's importance was tied to those parts of life, but also to something larger. She was not only domestic, she was also civic. She belonged to the city as well as the home. She could be connected with the protection and identity of Rome itself. That is one of the important things to remember about Roman religion. The boundaries between public and private were often connected. The household mattered. The family mattered. The state mattered. The gods could be present across all of these spaces. A goddess like Juno could be felt in the dignity of a public temple and also in the quiet hopes of ordinary family life. Tonight, we can let Juno's section of the city feel calm and protective, a soft presence over sleeping homes, a gentle strength in the ancient streets, a reminder that Roman religion often gave sacred meaning to life's ordinary passages: birth, marriage, family, protection, belonging, the movement from one stage of life into another. We do not need to turn Juno into a dramatic figure of argument or jealousy. Those stories exist in myth, especially in traditions influenced by Greek storytelling. But here, for sleep, we stay with the softer historical feeling. Juno is a guardian. Juno is dignity. Juno is a presence near the heart of Roman sacred life. The lamps burn low. The marble cools. The temple courtyard rests beneath the night. And from this quiet place, we move gently toward Minerva. Minerva was another goddess of the Capitoline triad. She stood with Jupiter and Juno, but her world feels different. If Jupiter leads us to the sky, and Juno to protection and the life of the city, Minerva leads us into thought, craft, skill, and careful making. She was associated with wisdom, with learning, with crafts, with the arts of the hand and mind. Over time, Minerva was strongly connected with the Greek Athena, but in a Roman setting, she still belonged to Roman religious life. Roman temples, Roman festivals, and Roman ideas of skill and knowledge. To picture Minerva tonight, imagine not a battlefield or a dramatic myth. Imagine a workshop after dark. The day's work is finished. The tools have been set down. A small lamp burns on a wooden table. Wax tablets lie closed. A stylus rests nearby. Threads and fabric wait quietly beside a loom. Scrolls are rolled and placed in order. Stone dust has settled in the corner of a craftsman's room. The hands that worked all day are now still. The mind that measured, planned, learned, and shaped can finally soften. This is Minerva's sleep-friendly world. Not noise, not urgency, but the peaceful ending of careful work. In Rome, craft and knowledge were not abstract ideas floating far away from daily life. They lived in real tasks, in writing, in weaving, in teaching, in making, in building, in carving, in learning the skills needed for a life, a trade, a household, or a city. Minerva gives us a way to think about the quiet dignity of skill, the patience of someone shaping a material with care, the slow attention of a student learning letters, the measured hands of a craftsperson, the soft scratch of a stylus, the neat order of tools at the end of the day. A Roman street at night may have passed by many such spaces. Shops closed for the evening, workrooms gone dark, courtyards quiet, the sounds of labor replaced by the small sounds of night. A lamp flickering, a curtain moving, a distant footstep fading. Minerva belongs beautifully to this hour, the hour after effort, the hour when thinking slows, the hour when the hands open and rest. In myth and art, Minerva could carry symbols of wisdom and protection, but tonight, we keep her gentle. A presence near the scroll, the loom, the tablet, the chisel, the careful plan. She reminds us that wisdom is not always loud. Sometimes it is patient. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is simply the ability to set things in order, then let them rest. And that is what we do now. We let the work of the day rest. We let the thoughts of the day rest. We let the old Roman workshops and study rooms grow dim in the soft amber light. Jupiter has given us the sky. Juno has given us protection and dignity. Minerva has given us wisdom, craft, and stillness. Together, the three figures of the Capitoline triad help us see Roman religion as something public, symbolic, and deeply connected to the city. But Rome's sacred world did not end on the Capitoline Hill. It moved outward, down the slopes, through the Forum, along the roads, beyond the walls, into fields, boundaries, and the older memory of the Roman people. And there, as the night air grows cooler and the city opens toward the countryside, we come next to Mars, not with noise, not with battle, but quietly. At the edge of Rome, where the fields lie still beneath the stars. EP03, Gods of Rome, Script, Part 03. Mars, Vesta, and Janus. At the edge of Rome, where the fields lie still beneath the stars, we come to Mars. For many people today, Mars is remembered mostly as a god of war, and that is part of his later Roman image. But for tonight, we will approach Mars carefully and calmly. We will not follow noise. We will not follow battle. We will not linger on violence or conquest. Instead, we will meet Mars as one of the oldest and most important gods in Roman tradition. A figure connected with Rome's identity, protection, discipline, boundaries, and the life of the people. In the oldest layers of Roman memory, Mars stood close to the beginnings of the city. He was remembered as the father of Romulus and Remus in the founding legend. That connection made him part of Rome's story about itself, part of its ancestry, part of the way the city imagined its strength, its endurance, and its place in the world. But strength does not need to feel loud tonight. Strength can be quiet. It can be the wall around a sleeping city, the boundary of a field, the road watched in the moonlight, the careful discipline of a people who believed that order, ritual, and duty mattered. Imagine now the land outside Rome. The city is behind us. Its temples and rooftops fade softly into the dark. Before us, the fields open wide beneath the night sky. The air is cooler here. Grass moves gently. A road passes between low stones and quiet earth. Far away, a small lamp burns near a farmhouse. The world is still. Mars can be imagined here, not in the noise of conflict, but at the boundary between city and field, between safety and wilderness, between the known road and the open land. In Roman life, boundaries mattered. Fields had edges, cities had gates, families had homes, public life had rituals, and the sacred world was often connected to keeping these spaces ordered and protected. Mars, in this gentler view, becomes a god of guarded edges, of discipline, of watchfulness, of the deep old memory of Rome before it became an empire, a Rome of hills, fields, walls, and family lines, a Rome that still felt close to the soil. In some traditions, Mars was also connected with spring, with the season when the year opens again, when fields return to life, when the air changes, when people prepare, plant, organize, and begin again. That is a softer way to meet him, not as noise, but as the feeling of the land waking after winter, the quiet readiness before growth, the stillness before the day begins. We can imagine a simple shield resting beside a doorway, not lifted, not used, only resting, a symbol of protection set down for the night. The household sleeps, the city sleeps, the fields sleep, and the old god of Rome stands, not as a figure of fear, but as a memory of protection at the edge of the known world. Mars reminds us that Roman religion held many layers. A god could be civic, ancestral, agricultural, protective, military, symbolic, and these meanings could shift over time. Different Romans in different centuries and places might have emphasized different parts of a god's character. So tonight, we keep our wording gentle and careful. We do not try to trap Mars in one simple meaning. We let him stand quietly where he belongs in this sleep story, at the boundary, near the fields, near the walls, near the old memory of Rome. The stars are bright above the road, the city gates are closed, the stones are cool, and slowly we turn back toward the inner life of Rome, away from the fields, away from the walls, back toward warmth, back toward the hearth, back toward Vesta. Vesta was one of the most important and peaceful figures in Roman religion. She was connected with the hearth, with the sacred flame, with the center of the home, and with the idea of continuity, warmth, and quiet protection. If Mars brings us to the boundary of the city, Vesta brings us inside. She brings us to the room where the lamp still burns, to the small fire that gives warmth, to the feeling of a house becoming calm at night. Imagine a Roman home in the evening. The sky outside is dark blue. The streets beyond the doorway are quiet. Inside, the air is warmer. A small flame glows. Its light moves across clay, stone, wood, and woven cloth. The day's meal is finished. The room has settled. A family shrine rests nearby. And in the gentle light, the home feels held. Vesta's world is close. It is not wide like Jupiter's sky. It is not public like the great ceremonies of the Forum. It is not at the boundary like Mars. It is here, at the center, at the hearth. The hearth was more than a useful fire. In many ancient households, it was a symbolic center of domestic life, a place of warmth, food, continuity, and family presence. And in Rome, Vesta gave sacred meaning to that quiet center. She was also important to the city itself. Her sacred fire was connected not only with private homes, but with the public life and continuity of Rome. This is one of the beautiful things about Roman religion. The home and the city could mirror one another. A private hearth, a public flame, a household center, a civic center, small and large, near and far, intimate and public. The same idea could echo through all of them. For tonight, we do not need to explore every formal detail. We only need the feeling, a flame kept gently, a house at rest, a city that imagines its own life continuing through sacred care. Picture the round temple of Vesta in the Roman Forum. By day, the area would have been part of Rome's busy public heart. But now in our sleep story, night has come. The Forum is empty. The stones are dim. A few lamps glow in the darkness. The air is still. And somewhere in that quiet, sacred space, the idea of Vesta remains as warmth, steadiness, and continuity. Vesta is one of the softest parts of this journey. She invites the listener inward, toward comfort, toward quiet, toward the sense that rest itself can be sacred. Not every sacred thing needs to be grand. Some sacred things are small. A flame, a bowl, a doorway, a place to sit, a room that feels safe, a night that asks nothing more from you. Let Vesta's flame become very small now, not fading away, only steady. A warm point of light in the darkness. The kind of light you do not need to watch closely. The kind of light that simply lets you rest. And from the hearth, we move gently toward another quiet part of Roman sacred life. The doorway, the threshold, the gate, the place between one space and another. Here we meet Janus. Janus was one of the most distinct Roman gods. Unlike some deities who were strongly associated with Greek equivalents over time, Janus remained deeply Roman in character. He was connected with doorways, with gates, with beginnings, with endings, with transitions, with the passage from one state into another, and for a sleep story, Janus is almost perfect, because sleep is also a threshold. It is the gentle doorway between waking and dreaming, between the day that is finished and the night that opens, between what we have carried and what we can slowly let go. Imagine an ancient Roman doorway at night. The wood is dark, the stone frame is pale in the moonlight. A small oil lamp rests near the entrance. Behind the door is the warmth of a home. Beyond it is the cool night street. The threshold is quiet. No one hurries across it now. No one calls out. No one knocks. It simply waits. Janus belongs to places like this, to the moment before departure, to the moment after arrival, to the first step of a journey, to the closing of a day, to the beginning of a year, to the opening of a gate, to the passing from one side to another. In Roman imagination, Janus was often shown with two faces, looking in different directions. This image can feel unusual at first, but tonight we can understand it softly. One face looking back. One face looking forward. One side remembering what is past. One side aware of what begins. This does not need to feel strange or unsettling. It can feel gentle, like standing in a doorway at the end of the evening, looking back on the day, then turning toward rest. Janus reminds us that transitions do not have to be dramatic, they can be quiet. A door closing softly, a lamp lowered, a breath released, a room settling, the end of 1 hour becoming the beginning of another. The Romans gave sacred meaning to beginnings and thresholds because such moments mattered. A journey begins with a step. The year begins with a first day. A home begins at its entrance. A city is shaped by its gates. Even sleep begins with a crossing. Not all at once, not suddenly, but slowly, gently, almost without noticing. You are awake, then quieter, then drifting, then close to sleep. Janus stands at that gentle edge, not pulling you forward, not asking anything of you, only marking the doorway, the passage, the soft change from one state into another. Imagine now the gates of Rome at night, closed and still. The stone is cool. The road beyond them disappears into darkness. Inside the city, lamps burn low. Outside the city, the fields rest beneath the stars. The gate is a boundary, but also a connection, a place where two worlds meet. Janus belongs there, at the meeting place, at the quiet hinge of movement and rest. Tonight, as we pass through his doorway, we can let the day begin to close behind us. Whatever has been busy can become still. Whatever has felt crowded can become spacious. Whatever has been held too tightly can loosen. The threshold is gentle. The door is open only enough for rest to enter. And after Janus, after the boundary and the doorway, our path turns toward a softer beauty, toward gardens, toward moonlit courtyards, toward fountains and flowers, toward Roman memory and mythic ancestry. There, in the calm air of the night, we will meet Venus. EP 03 Gods of Rome, script. Part 04, Venus, household gods, and closing. There, in the calm air of the night, we meet Venus. For many people today, Venus is remembered as a goddess of love and beauty, and that is part of her story. But in Roman tradition, Venus could also be connected with gardens, growth, fertility, ancestry, memory, and the deeper story Rome told about where it came from. Like many Roman gods, her meaning changed and expanded over time. She was associated with the Greek Aphrodite, and many Greek stories became attached to her. But in Rome, Venus also took on a special place in Roman identity. Through the story of Aeneas, the Trojan hero who was said to be her son, Venus became connected with Rome's legendary ancestry. In that tradition, the story of Rome stretched backward into the deep mythic past, back beyond the city, back beyond the forum, back beyond the temples and roads, back to wandering, memory, family, and the search for a new home. Tonight, we do not need to follow that story in a dramatic way. We can simply let Venus become a soft presence in the Roman night. A presence of beauty, growth, gardens, water, ancestry, and quiet memory. Imagine now a Roman villa garden under moonlight. The city sounds are far away. A fountain moves softly in the courtyard. The water catches the pale light of the moon. The leaves are dark and still. A few flowers rest near the edge of a stone path. Marble shines faintly in the shadows, and a warm lamp burns near an open doorway. This is one of the calmest ways to imagine Venus. Not as drama, not as longing, not as a loud myth, but as the quiet beauty of a garden after sunset. The kind of beauty that does not need to ask for attention. It is simply there, in the water, in the stone, in the shape of a flower, in the curve of a path, in the soft air of evening. For Romans, gardens and cultivated spaces could carry deep meaning. A garden was not only decoration, it could be a place of rest, family life, display, reflection, and order. Nature shaped by human hands. Wildness softened into paths, fountains, shade, and quiet corners. Venus fits gently into that world. She belongs to beauty, but also to growth, to life continuing, to the old stories families and cities tell about themselves, to ancestry remembered across generations. Because of her connection to Aeneas, Venus could become part of how Romans imagined their own beginnings. She was not only a goddess of personal feeling, she could be woven into public memory and political identity. Especially in later Roman history, important families could connect themselves to divine ancestry, and Venus became part of that larger symbolic world. But tonight, we do not need to make that complex. We can keep it soft. We can imagine a Roman family remembering its past, a city remembering its legends, a garden remembering spring, a quiet fountain repeating the same gentle sound through the night. Venus reminds us that not all sacred meaning is found in high temples or public vows. Some of it is found in beauty, in the care of a courtyard, in the planting of trees, in the stories that connect one generation to another, in the peaceful feeling of belonging to something older than yourself. The lamp near the garden doorway burns low. The fountain continues softly. The moon rests above the rooftops. And for a moment, Rome feels less like a city of stone and more like a memory held in the night. From Venus, we turn away from the garden and return slowly toward the home. Because Roman religion was not only about the great gods whose names are still remembered. It also lived in smaller, quieter forms, inside houses, beside meals, near doorways, in family spaces, in daily routines. The sacred world in Rome could be very close. A person did not always need to climb the Capitoline Hill or stand before a major temple to feel connected to the gods. A household could have its own sacred center, its own protective figures, its own small shrine, its own rituals of care. Among these household powers were the Lars and Penates. The details of household religion could vary by family, place, and time, so we should speak carefully. But in general, the Lars were connected with protection of the household and family spaces. The Penates were connected with the household store, food, with the protection of domestic life. These figures remind us that Roman religion could be deeply everyday. It was not only the religion of marble temples and public ceremonies, it was also the religion of a lamp lit in a home, a meal prepared, a small offering made, a doorway watched over, a family asking for protection, continuity, and peace. Imagine a quiet Roman atrium at night. The open roof above the center lets in a piece of the sky. Moonlight falls softly into the room. A basin of water reflects a faint silver shape. Near one wall, a small household shrine stands still. There may be little figures, small painted images, or simple signs of devotion. A lamp burns nearby. Its flame is small. The rest of the house is quiet. Perhaps the day's meal has ended. The dishes have been set aside. The footsteps have faded. The voices have lowered. And the home has entered the gentle privacy of night. This small shrine might not seem as grand as a temple, but for the people who lived there, it could be deeply meaningful. It connected the household to memory, to ancestors, to protection, to food, to family continuity, to the hope that tomorrow would arrive safely. The sacred was not always distant. Sometimes it lived very close to the table, very close to the doorway, very close to the hearth, very close to the ordinary acts that made up a human life. This is one reason Roman religion is so interesting to approach gently. It was everywhere, not in a way that had to feel overwhelming, but in a way that made the world feel layered with meaning. A road could have sacred associations, a gate could have a god, a hearth could have a goddess. A field could belong to old rhythms of protection and growth. A garden could carry beauty and memory. A public temple could express the identity of the city. A household shrine could hold the hopes of one family. And all of these spaces could exist together, the public and the private, the grand and the small, the city and the home, the sky and the flame, the road and the doorway, the temple and the table. Tonight, as we have moved through the gods of Rome, we have also moved through these spaces. We began beneath the high sky of Jupiter. We stood near the quiet dignity of Juno. We rested with Minerva among tools, tablets, craft, and thought. We walked to the fields and boundaries of Mars. We returned to the hearth of Vesta. We paused at the doorway of Janus. We entered the gardens and memories of Venus. And now, with the household gods, we have come back inside. Back to the small, sacred spaces where daily life becomes calm. Back to the lamp, back to the hearth, back to the room where the night has settled. This is where our journey begins to close. The city outside is quiet now. The temples are resting. The forum lies beneath the moon. The great roads wait in silence. The columns stand like pale shapes against the dark. The gardens are still. The fountains move slowly. The household shrines glow softly in their corners. And the old gods of Rome, who once filled temples, festivals, stories, vows, houses, fields, and doorways, become part of the atmosphere of the night. Not something to study too closely now, not something to hold tightly, only a soft pattern of names, places, and images: sky, temple, hearth, doorway, garden, field, home, lamp, stone, moonlight, rest. If you are still awake, let the details begin to fade. You do not need to remember every name. You do not need to follow every thread. You can simply imagine the city growing quieter and quieter. The marble cooling beneath the stars, the lamps lowering, the last footsteps disappearing from the road, the sky above Rome becoming deep and still. Jupiter's high temple is quiet. Juno's courtyard rests in moonlight. Minerva's tools are set aside. Mars stands far away at the peaceful edge of the fields. Vesta's flame remains warm and steady. Janus watches the doorway between waking and sleep. Venus's garden rests beneath the moon, and the household gods keep their small, quiet places near the center of home. The ancient world is still here for a little while longer, soft, distant, peaceful. But you do not need to walk any farther tonight. The road can wait. The temples can wait. The stories can wait. The old city will still be here when we return. For now, let the night settle. Let the river move quietly in the distance. Let the stars rest above the hills. Let the last lamp burn low, and let the sacred city of Rome fade gently into sleep. Sleep well. Sleep tight, and we will return to the ancient world again soon.